Well, there's good news for the IT sector as the government moves to reduce the compliance burden for BPOs as well as other companies providing IT-enabled services. The government has simplified other service provider guidelines, and the Department of Telecommunications will no longer impose compulsory registration of OSPs, compulsory static IPs and other regulations that were previously in place. Easing of rules for BPOs means that they will no longer be required to deposit bank guarantees, nor will they be required to publish the network diagram. There's also good news for the IT industry employees who've been waiting for flexible working policy since the start of the pandemic. Requirements that prevented BPOs from adopting work from home and work from anywhere policies have also been removed. Well, to discuss the implications of this for the BPO sector and the IT sector, we're joined by Keshav Murugesh, the Group CEO of WNS Global Services. Keshav, many thanks for joining us. This is an overnight development. When we spoke at the start of the pandemic and lockdown, I remember you were on a panel with me here on Restarting India, discussing what the government should do to try and provide a fillip to this sector. What will these changes mean, Keshav?
So, Shireen, first of all, thank you for having me here. But I think there's a little bit of history behind these announcements. And I think COVID-19 had a lot to do with these announcements. So if I just take you a little back in history, over the years, the industry has been pushing with its clients the digital-first technology-enabled models and has been investing constantly in great people, great technologies, and new ways of working for clients. But along with COVID-19, what actually happened was that a model that had never been thought of before, never been tested before, had to be unleashed. And we had to unleash not just a BCP model, but what I call a PCP, or a pandemic continuity model. The whole world was watching us. Overnight, we were able to move 4.5 million desktops across the length and breadth of this country, moved our people all over, kept them safe, kept the lights on for our clients, never compromised on operational efficiency, never compromised on risk or cyber security, and have built so much of comfort in the minds of our clients that we went back to the government through the industry bodies like NASSCOM and others to explain to them that if some of the complications and some of the relaxations that we got during the pandemic, so releasing some of the complications and extending some of the the good things that we saw, would actually enable the business to take off in a way that has never been seen before. And I think that is what we have actually seen announced yesterday. With some of these changes, it means it will enable us to take the business into tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 locations. It will enable the gig economy. I believe it will enable more women coming into the workforce, because there is almost 110 million women with secondary education degrees who want to be part of the workforce, and they can now be enabled because of this. And people can now work from any place, any city, and be part of a big company. The comfort has already been created in the minds of clients, and this is very exciting, therefore.
Okay, so you're saying that this is very exciting, that clients have already adapted to this change in a post-COVID situation, and now it really opens up a window of opportunity for Indian service providers. But while this does provide us an enabling policy and regulatory environment, Keshav, when you talk about tier 2 and tier 3 cities coming into play, what has the experience been so far through the lockdown period, through the COVID pandemic, and do infrastructure challenges continue to be constraints?
Sure. So, Shireen, if you think of it, I think we actually performed admirably in spite of the challenges. Whether we like it or not, Wi-Fi is not, robust and stable in every part of the country. The power is still an issue in parts of the country. But I think what we have done across the last few months is work closely with the government to make sure both of these areas was properly or well attended to, as a result of which almost 98 to 99% of volumes are now being delivered from home. So people are working from home in spite of all of these challenges. The lights have been kept on. Clients are very positive with the results. most importantly, we're starting to see the semblance of business coming back, growth coming back, in spite of the fact that a lot of businesses out there are still, very stressed. So this is the beginning of our, working to actually start enabling the next level of growth. But along with this, more needs to be done. So while the experience has been good as of now, I think this announcement will also push the states to start focusing on what are the right investments and right models that they must drive inside each state in order to make those states compelling, for the service providers like us. So having this is one aspect, but we also now need to see the more robust Wi-Fi infrastructure being created. We will need to see states take leadership in terms of IT policies, which are not just driven around real estate, but more around actually creating hub, spoke, and edge models, for all of us. And we will need to see more changes in the labor laws to allow people to actually engage from the smaller cities and be part of a larger workforce. And more importantly, it will allow us to also get after new revenue streams, including, I believe, cybersecurity, which I think is one of the big opportunities for India long term.
Okay, thanks for articulating what the future opportunities could be. But Keshav, what will this mean in terms of employment opportunities? Sanjeev Sanyal, speaking with us, the principal economic advisor to the government earlier this morning, said that he believes this could be a big job creator. Now, this has traditionally been a sector and an industry that has given a lot of young people work. So what does this mean now in terms of future employment opportunities? What's the current number that this industry is servicing today?
Yeah, so see, at this point in time, if you look at our industry, you will see that close to 70% of the industry actually consists of people who have moved from tier 4, tier 3 locations into the tier 2 or tier 1 locations. And during the COVID pandemic, we also realized that many of these people in the tier 1 locations actually share an apartment. Quite often they work for 4 different companies, but they're working from that, one apartment, which is a common apartment. This announcement, when followed through, along with the build out of the right infrastructure and changes in the labor laws, I want to mention also those also are work in progress. It will allow a lot of these people to continue to work from wherever they were originally from. It will help to reduce the overall cost of ownership of doing business. I actually think that because of the fact that people, will in the future want to work shorter hours, want to work part-time, want to work fewer days in a week, it will create more employment for people who cannot take advantage of these models in today's scenario. And because of the great experience that the world has had with India from an IT as well as a BPM model, I think as business volumes start normalizing, Shireen, we will actually see an expansion of revenues and volumes for India, which will actually result in more hiring. As you know, the industry at this point in time, leverages about 4.5 million people. And we'll have to wait to see what the impact will be because of this. But I'm actually very positive about the experience of COVID-19, the way we've pivoted our model to a completely new model, the positive momentum that India has created in the marketplace, and the fact that every client of us now tells us, we know who our true friends are based on how you managed us during this crisis.
Well, that's good to hear. But Keshav, let's talk about what this could mean in terms of future orders for this industry, volume of work going up significantly, and whether this significantly enhances India's competitive advantage in this business. And more importantly, going forward, as we progress and bring in more automation, what could the future of this business itself look like?
Sure. So I'll tell you first and foremost, we must realize while things are looking good in a few verticals, globally things are still not looking very good from a demand point of view on many verticals. The entire travel business is still very badly impacted. Shipping and logistics is still quite impacted. I believe parts of insurance is still impacted, and the utilities demand has still not come back to normalcy. Having said that, all of us are working closely with our clients to co-create new ideas, new solutions to help them start kickstarting these businesses. So for example, if you look at some of the announcements coming in from the airlines, United Airlines recently announced that anyone with a rapid antigen, negative test report only would be allowed on flights between Newark and Heathrow as a test case. They are also experimenting with an app where automatically test results are upgraded there, and at the gate, people are either allowed to enter a flight or not. Once this test is done and it is properly planned for, I believe this will be the new norm over the next few months for the entire travel industry, going beyond airlines to hotels to the cruise lines as well. And while today's demand is not there yet, when that happens, it will actually have a very positive and salutary effect, because none of us have baked these revenues into our revenue streams at this point in time. So, and that is very much COVID oriented itself. But I think the most exciting part of the announcements that we are seeing at this point in time is the fact that clients have got comfortable with the model. They are, earlier a few of them were pushing back, saying, no, we need you to get back to the office. But today, as they have realized that this is not an India-only pandemic, or not a Philippines-only pandemic, or only a South Africa pandemic, but it's a true global pandemic, and that we were able to operate in spite of being impacted across the globe in a very smooth manner. I think the ability for them now to take out things that they do themselves. There are large components of business that they do themselves because they feel that it is too important for them to give it to others. That's one. I think that will start coming to the third-party players. Right. I also think a lot of companies are now looking at what is core to them. And at this point in time, many of them who are running captives across the globe will also look at which areas should not be run by them and should be handed over to third-party, kind of players. And I think that will again have a positive, salutary effect in every area or sense.
Well, let's hope that all the positives that you just spoke of do translate into reality. Keshav Murugesh, many thanks for joining us. And, a word before we wrap. This is the show, Restarting India, that's just won the News Television Awards Best Business Program Award. So thank you to our viewers as well for watching. And Keshav, thank you for joining us here on this edition of Restarting India. But let's also hear out Warren Harris, the CEO of Tata Technologies, on what he makes of the reforms announced.
Well, we've not quantified the reduction in compliance burden. We are at the moment aggregating the potential reduction in commercial real estate costs that we anticipated it will afford us, and this is not just the case in India, but in different parts of the world. So we are expecting certainly that this will have a positive impact on the commercial performance of the company.
Well, with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Restarting India. From all of us here on the team, goodbye. Many thanks for watching. Stay tuned to CNBC TV 18. The news continues.